Authoritarianism runs on fear. Fear is the grease that oils the tank treads of authoritarianism. Fear is a force multiplier. If you use governmental power to jail an opponent, you stop that one individual from opposing you. But if you make it a public spectacle, especially if you target someone powerful, if you make it clear that the individual in question is being punished not because they broke the law, but because they oppose you, in this case, the more ridiculous the charge, the better. If you can do that, then you create a climate of fear. If you go after someone who clearly broke the law, then only those who have broken the law are afraid. Everyone else feels safe in the knowledge that they have committed no crime. But if you punish someone simply for opposing you, if you take away their job, if you bring bogus criminal charges against them, if you attack them on social media so that your goons threaten them, or worse, then anyone who opposes you becomes afraid. Because then anyone who opposes you is a potential target of governmental repression. So now, instead of just deactivating that one individual, you also deactivate everyone like that person, everyone with similar political beliefs. A whole segment of the population becomes afraid. Authoritarians use state power to impose their will, but brute power is limited. To fully establish the regime, authoritarians need to manufacture compliance, and fear is what extracts compliance from a population. Why do authoritarian leaders hate comedians? Why can't they tolerate late-night talk show hosts making a few jokes about them? Because when comedians make fun of a wannabe dictator, it dispels fear. How can a population be afraid of you if they are laughing at you every night? They can't. And so they need to be taken off the air. You need to pull any lever you have to silence them, even if those levers are unconstitutional. For us, a little late-night mix of humor and politics can bring some temporary relief while they're still on the air. But a talk show host can't dispel the deep fear that comes from the knowledge of what is currently happening politically in our world, or ecologically for that matter. Fear can prevent opposition to authoritarianism and can incapacitate us to do what we need to do to restore the planet. If we are going to successfully repel authoritarianism, if we're going to restore the planet, we need to learn to change our relationship to fear. We need to become comfortable with fear and even see fear as a helpful companion. Fear can actually help us successfully navigate these difficult times. This episode is Transforming Fear from Anxiety to Action. Welcome to Resilience in Dark Times. I'm your companion and guide, Michael Glavin. If you're feeling overwhelmed by political upheaval and environmental crisis, you're in the right place. This podcast is for everyone who refuses to normalize injustice or ignore planetary emergencies. Together, we'll transform anxiety into action and build the emotional resilience we need to keep fighting. Let's begin. Last episode, we talked about what to do when truth is toxic, when the truth of a situation is so overwhelming that it becomes incapacitating. If you haven't checked out that episode yet, you should. I know it's a heavy topic, but we actually have some fun in that episode. No, really, we do. In that episode, we said that a guiding question for you could be, what do I need to know in order to take effective action in the world? This will limit the amount of horrible truth that you need to process, which will lighten your emotional load. We also talked about placing the horrible truth within a framework, which gives it meaning. It transforms the effect that truth has on you. Instead of leading to despair, a proper frame around a terrible truth can make life more precious, more meaningful. It can give you purpose. But even if you are doing all of that, the state of the world and what is happening can still engender fear in you. And it should. That is a normal, healthy reaction. Let's face it, things are scary right now. We need to talk about how to handle fear in a productive way. Before we get into that, let me say that there are two different reactions to fear. The first reaction, and what we will focus on today, is what we normally think of, when we are in danger and it kicks off our fight-flight response. This is the type of reaction we talked about in How to Stop Doom Scrolling. This reaction to fear happens when you are in physical danger or are under threat. This is when your adrenaline kicks in, your body mobilizes for action. Even if you freeze, some people talk about the fight, flight, freeze reaction. The freeze is like a rabbit frozen but ready to spring away. It's an anxious, adrenaline-fueled freezing, filled with potential energy. According to Stephen Porges and polyvagal theory, don't let the name scare you. We'll go into polyvagal theory in depth in the future. So much so that you'll be able to throw that term around at cocktail parties, impress your friends, cause your enemies to feel envy. It'll be awesome. Anyways, according to Stephen Porges, there is another reaction to fear. When we are faced with an overwhelming threat, our nervous system can go into a dorsal vagal shutdown. This is a different type of reaction to fear. This is an immobilization due to life threat. Have you ever seen a cat catch a mouse? The mouse might just go limp. It appears dead. The cat might lose interest and walk away. The mouse might revive and then run away. That mouse is not playing dead. It's not trying not to move. The nervous system of that mouse has shut down. The cat triggered a dorsal vagal shutdown in the mouse. We'll go into this more in another episode because it's really fascinating. But for now, what you need to know is that the first type of fear is induced when we are in danger, when we are under threat. Our bodies mobilize for action. But when there's no possibility for escape, when fighting will not help, our bodies go into shutdown mode. Fainting is one example of a dorsal vagal shutdown. This type of reaction brings numbness, torpor, dissociation, brain fog, feelings of helplessness and hopelessness. If this state describes you, then please seek professional help. You have not chosen to feel this way. There's no shame in how you feel. Your body is just doing what bodies do. So please see a licensed therapist to help you. So for today, we're not going to talk about this type of reaction to fear. We're going to focus instead on that first type of reaction, which is much more common. That anxious fear, the fight, flight, freeze type of fear. Not the type of fear that makes you collapse. Okay? All right, great. Now it's story time. Grab a juice box or a snack if you'd like, maybe some Cheerios or veggie sticks. Come over to the rug and make yourself comfortable. This is Henny Penny, The Sky is Falling. I know you might be thinking, but Michael, this is a kid's story. Yeah, I get it. All right. Here's the backstory. So I was talking with my wife about the podcast and how I wanted to do an episode on fear. And she brought up Henny Penny and The Sky is Falling story. I didn't think it added much, but then she reminded me about the part at the end, a part that I didn't remember or never heard. And how this story ends actually is really important, especially now. This is the English folktale Henny Penny, The Sky is Falling. One day, Henny Penny was picking up corn in the rickyard when, whack, an acorn hit her upon the head. "Goodness gracious me," said Henny Penny. "The sky is going to fall. I must go tell the king." So she went along, and she went along, and she went along, till she met Cocky Locky. "Where are you going, Henny Penny?" says Cocky Locky. "Oh, I'm going to tell the king the sky is a-falling," says Henny Penny. "May I come with you?" says Cocky Locky. "Certainly," says Henny Penny. So Henny Penny and Cocky Locky went to tell the king the sky was falling. They went along, and they went along, and they went along, till they met Ducky Daddles. "Where are you going to, Henny Penny and Cocky Locky?" says Ducky Daddles. "Oh, we're going to tell the king the sky is falling," said Henny Penny and Cocky Locky. "May I come with you?" said Ducky Daddles. "Certainly," said Henny Penny and Cocky Locky. So Henny Penny, Cocky Locky, and Ducky Daddles went to tell the king the sky was falling. So they went along, and they went along, and they went along, till they met Goosey Poosey. "Where are you going to, Henny Penny?" said Goosey Poosey. "Oh, we're going to tell the king the sky is falling," said Henny Penny, and the rest. "May I come with you?" said Goosey Poosey. "Certainly," said Henny Penny, and the rest. So they all went to tell the king the sky was falling. So they went along, and they went along, and they went along, till they met Turkey Lurkey. "Where are you going, Henny Penny?" says Turkey Lurkey. "Oh, we're going to tell the king the sky is falling," said Henny Penny and the rest. "May I come with you, Henny Penny?" said Turkey Lurkey. "Oh, certainly, Turkey Lurkey," said Henny Penny and the rest. And they all went to tell the king the sky was falling. So they went along, and they went along, and they went along, until they met Foxy Woxy. And Foxy Woxy said to Henny Penny and the rest, "Where are you going?" And Henny Penny and the rest said, "We're going to tell the king the sky is falling." "Oh, but that is not the way to the king, Henny Penny, Cocky Locky, Ducky Daddles, Goosey Poosey, and Turkey Lurkey," says Foxy Woxy. "I know the proper way. Shall I show it to you?" "Oh, certainly, Foxy Woxy," says Henny Penny and the rest. And they all went to tell the king the sky was falling. So they went along, and they went along, and they went along till they came to a narrow and dark hole. Now this was the door of Foxy Woxy's burrow. But Foxy Woxy said to Henny Penny, Cocky Locky, Ducky Daddles, Goosey Poosey, and Turkey Lurkey, "This is a shortcut to the king's palace. You'll soon get there if you follow me. I will go first, and you will come after, Henny Penny, Cocky Locky, Ducky Daddles, Goosey Poosey, and Turkey Lurkey." "Why, of course, certainly, without doubt. Why not?" said Henny Penny and the rest. So Foxy Woxy went into his burrow, and he didn't go very far, but turned round to wait for Henny Penny, Cocky Locky, Ducky Daddles, Goosey Poosey, and Turkey Lurkey. Now Turkey Lurkey was the first to go through the dark hole into the burrow. He hadn't gone far when, humph! Foxy Woxy snapped off Turkey Lurkey's head and threw his body over his left shoulder. Then Goosey Poosey went in, and humph! Off went her head, and Goosey Poosey was thrown beside Turkey Lurkey. Then Ducky Daddles waddled down, and humph! Foxy Woxy had snapped off Ducky Daddles' head, and Ducky Daddles was thrown alongside Turkey Lurkey and Goosey Poosey. Then Cocky Locky strutted down into the burrow. He hadn't gone far when, humph! But Cocky Locky will always crow whether you want him to do so or not. And so he had just time for one cock-a-doodle-doo before he went to join Turkey Lurkey, Goosey Poosey, and Ducky Daddles over Foxy Woxy's shoulders. Now when Henny Penny, who'd just gotten into the dark burrow, heard Cocky Locky crow, she said to herself, "My goodness, it must be dawn. Time for me to lay my egg." So she turned around and bustled off to her nest. So she escaped, but she never told the king the sky was falling. The end. Wow, I do not remember Foxy Woxy. Yikes. That is one gruesome story. As an aside, it's also interesting that Henny Penny still has no idea what happened, or that she was that close to death, or that she even escaped anything. This story is obviously about fear. The sky is falling. That's pretty bad if true. You can tell that they don't listen to this podcast because the fear spreads quickly among the barnyard folk, one after another, until what happens? They are easily manipulated by a strong man. It's interesting that it's a fox. Fox News. Fox News. Excuse me, I must be allergic to something. They are all easily manipulated, and they all meet their demise, except for Henny Penny, who escapes by sheer accident. So what can we take out of this story? What can we learn? Well, emotions are a lightning-fast assessment of a situation that prepares us for action. Fear is an important emotion when we are under physical threat. On an individual level, fear floods our system with hormones that enables us to act quickly. Last summer, I was in my yard with my dog Zoe, just sweeping the patio. It was a beautiful summer day. I was in shorts. Let me say, where we live, behind the row of houses, there's an alley, and this is where the garbage cans are. And during the pandemic, all the restaurants shut down. So the rats who were normally in the business district by the restaurants, they spread out away from the business centers where the big industrial kitchens were, out to the residential areas. So our back alley had become fairly rat-infested. Anyway, I think you can see where this is going. There I was sweeping when a rat came out of the bushes. My dog Zoe sprang to life and chased after it, and chased it right at me. And previously, I had seen some YouTube video where someone said that rats, when threatened, like to run up people's legs. Fear shot through my body like lightning. I gripped the broom tight and stabbed at the rat to stop it from getting at me, but I missed. The rat continued right at me, and I sprang high into the air. Rat and dog running right under me. My brain thought, if I stay in the air, the rat won't be able to get me. Well, technically that's true, but not really helpful. I turned to see Zoe biting the rat and flipping it up into the air, where it spun around, landed, and ran back right at me. So I kept jumping up in the air, striking down with a broom like some crazy clown on a pogo stick. Eventually, Zoe chased the rat out of the yard and back into the alley. The episode only lasted probably a few seconds, but it felt like eternity. Fear is helpful in situations like this when we're under physical threat. They give us the hormones and adrenaline that we need to act quickly and protect ourselves. But fear is not only an individual assessment of a situation that readies our individual bodies for actions. Emotions are also social. They are a form of communication. Fear is contagious through a process called emotional contagion. As we've discussed previously, fear spreads quickly through a crowd or through social media. In some circumstances, this can be helpful. Emotional contagion helps individual antelopes in a herd avoid being killed by a pride of lions. It helps them all get away together at the same time. If one antelope sees a lion, its fear response will trigger the fear response in all the other antelopes, and they will all run away together. This is an evolutionary advantage. But this is also the process that gets people crushed to death when people panic and start to run in a crowded venue. And not only that, fear disrupts your prefrontal cortex, your site of executive functioning. It reduces cognitive and behavioral flexibility, along with a host of other negative effects. Suffice to say, fear is not good for overall decision-making. When we are afraid, we are more easily manipulated. We need to stop fear contagion. There's another awesome t-shirt idea. Stop fear contagion. It sounds kind of ominous. If you don't have a feral rat about to run up your bare leg, then you probably want to shift out of the anxious, fearful state. Today, we will do some work to do just that, to shift us out of that anxious, fearful state. Before that, however, we need to talk about how different people experience and deal with fear/anxiety differently. And to do that, we need to talk about attachment theory. Attachment theory is a science of relationships. It talks about our earliest experiences with our caretakers and the process of getting our needs met, and what happens when our needs don't get met. When things go well, we learn that we have needs, that it's okay to have needs, and that there is someone available to meet our needs. This is called secure attachment. But what happens when our needs are only met sporadically? What happens when sometimes we're paid attention to, we're changed and fed, but sometimes we go a long time without having our needs met? The first response is a distress response. To cry and fuss and make a big stink, sometimes literally. This then brings the caregiver close, and we get our needs met. But if this pattern of a sporadically inattentive caregiver continues, we learn to stay in a state of distress in order to keep the caregiver close to get our needs met. If we become a fussy baby or a fussy child, sometimes that can keep a caregiver close to us so that we get our needs met. This is called anxious attachment. But what if this doesn't work? What if feeling and expressing distress doesn't work, doesn't get our needs met? Being distressed is very taxing to our system. So if this strategy doesn't work, then the distress is pushed out of our awareness. The child shifts from focus on the internal world and distress to the external world. This is called avoidant attachment. The distress is still there. They've done studies on this. It's just out of the child's awareness. Most of us deal with ourselves in a similar way that our primary caregivers dealt with us. People who use anxious attachment style in their primary relationships might focus more on problems. They might worry more. They may spend more time ruminating. If this is you, you are painfully aware that rumination does not make you feel better. Let's try a different approach, something that will help you feel better. If you have an avoidance strategy and people ask you how you're feeling, you might say fine or okay or pretty good. Notice that none of these are actually feelings. You mean that you're doing good as opposed to bad. I get it. I have an avoidant attachment style too. The way you deal with problems is not to focus on them, to avoid thinking about them, to avoid feeling them. But none of this makes them go away. They are still there, stressing you out, even if you're not aware of that stress. Let's try something else instead. Let's try an approach that will help you discover how you are feeling and make you feel better. Whether you focus on your problems, ruminating about them, or avoid thinking about them, you need to learn how to successfully deal with your feelings, especially fear or anxiety. What we need to do is to learn to relate to ourselves in a secure way, that we have needs, it's okay to have needs, and that our needs can be met and we can feel better. This is the engine of resilience. This fundamental process is a building block of resilience. Let's do an exercise to help us develop these skills, to transform our fear and anxiety. During this exercise, I will be asking you to call to mind something political or ecological that's causing you fear or anxiety in your life. Don't focus on something that hasn't happened yet or might happen in the future. Pick something that's happening now, something definite, something that is currently happening. Okay, take a moment and think about that now. Just pick one thing. This thing can have a lot of emotional charge to it, or it can be more intellectual. That's okay too. Once you have that one political or ecological thing that's causing you anxiety or fear that's happening right now, we can begin. If you're driving or need to pay attention to what you are doing, just pause the podcast here and continue it later. We want you to be safe. Let's start with a few deep breaths. In from the belly, take a deep breath, and then a long exhale. Pause. And again, take in a big inhale, filling up your lungs. And once you get to the top, just hold it for a second. Now take in a little bit more air, and then a long, slow exhale. The longer, the better. Pause. And again, take a deep inhale so you can't anymore and hold it. And then a little bit more air. And long, slow exhale. You get bonus points for inhaling through your nose or for making a sigh when you exhale. Extra bonus points if you do horse lips, which is like that. And if you're on a subway, then this will keep people away from you while you do this. Secret benefit. Okay, now maybe roll your shoulders up and then back and then down, forward, up and then down again. You can gently move your head to loosen up your neck. Maybe shake out your hands, your arms. Take another deep breath with a long exhale. Just do whatever you need to do to relax and make yourself comfortable. You can have your eyes closed or open or just gently focused, whatever you like. Some people like to close their eyes. Some people like to keep their eyes open. Now that you're comfortable, take a moment to call to mind something that is happening politically or ecologically that's making you feel anxious or afraid. As you call this frightful thing to mind, notice your body. Notice what happens inside you as you call this anxious thing to mind. Notice your legs. There might be some energy there or some sensation. Just notice that. Notice what's happening in your stomach. Is there any tightness or any sensation or movement? As you call to mind this anxiety-provoking thing, this fear-inducing thing, just notice your body. Notice your chest. Any constriction there? Notice your breathing. Has it changed at all? as you're thinking about this thing. Notice your throat. Is there any constriction or tightness in your throat? So now I want you to locate that fear, that anxiety in your body. And doing that scan, just where is the energy? Where do you feel it the most? Do you feel it in your stomach or your chest or your throat? Just focus on that. Just notice it. And describe it to yourself. What is it like? What words come to mind? Is it a knot? Is it a liquid? Just notice what it's like. What are the qualities of this embodied anxiety or fear in you? I want you to take your hand and place it where you feel that fear. And make the motion like you're grabbing onto it with your hand. And then move your hand up and out, up over your head and then out away from you. You're taking that fear out of you and you're placing it in front of you. So just do that now. Grab onto that fear, pull it up and out of you, then gently place it in front of you. Notice how your body feels to have that anxiety, that fear out of you and externalize. Maybe you take a quick inhale and deep sigh. Maybe you notice that you feel a little relief. Maybe your shoulders relax a little bit. Maybe it's a bit easier to breathe. Just notice your body with that anxiety outside of you. Now I want you to scan your body and notice any tension, any leftover tension, tightness, any traces of fear or anxiety that are left in your body. I want you to take a deep inhale and blow all that tension and anxiety and fear outside of yourself and into that embodied fear, that embodied anxiety that's out in front of you. So just do that now. Take a deep inhale through your nose if you can, and then a long exhale. You're just blowing out that anxiety and that fear into this embodied being that's out in front of you. And one more time, deep inhale. Then long, slow exhale, blowing this anxiety and fear out of your body. All the tension out. All right, now look at that fear that's sitting in front of you. What does it look like? What color is it? Is it smooth or fuzzy? Does it have sharp edges? Feel free to give it a name if you like. I know this fear has made your life more difficult and has caused you to suffer. I know that. I'm sorry for that. But I also know that this fear is trying to help you. It has good intentions. I want you to think of this fear as a child, and you are a compassionate parent. You might not like this fear sometimes. You might have some bad feelings towards this fear. That's okay. But I also want you to feel some compassion for this fear. So let yourself feel a little compassion for this creature that's trying to help you, even if it's misguided, even if it causes more problems than it should. It probably should. And feel that compassion in your body. Make a little bit of room for that compassion towards this fear. And if you're having a hard time feeling that, that's okay. That's okay. I'm going to want you to talk to this fear sitting in front of you, this anxiety that's sitting in front of you. And I want you to listen to it. The fear will speak to you if you are receptive. It might speak in words, or it might speak in images, or in feelings or sensation, or a combination of these. However it speaks to you, you will be able to understand it. Its secret language is your language. You understand its language. You understand what it's trying to tell you. So let's talk to this fear. You can say this out loud or in your mind. It's better if you say it out loud, but if you're on that subway, it's okay just to say it in your mind. Ask this fear, how are you trying to help me? How are you trying to help me? And just listen to what it says. Ask it, what are you afraid of? What are you afraid of? What would happen if you weren't here? And what are you protecting me from? Let this fear speak to you. Really listen to this fear with compassion as it tells you what it's protecting you from, what it's trying to do for you. The way this fear is trying to help you might be unpleasant, it might be problematic, but its intent is to help you. In your own words, thank the fear for trying to help you. I want you to validate the fear's feelings. Tell it, I can see why you feel this way. That makes sense to me. I'm sorry that you're feeling this way. Thank you for telling me this. Now ask the fear, what do you need? What do you need? What do you need to feel better? Just listen to what that fear says. Take a moment to call to mind how much you love all the things that the fear is trying to protect you from. Let yourself feel into that love of all that is important to you, all that you cherish. Feel that in your body and notice where you're feeling that love. Notice your chest, see if there's any warmth there, any good feeling there. Now I want you to do an assessment. The fear has told you what it needs. Are you already doing what the fear is asking for? Are you doing all of it? Is what the fear is asking for, is it reasonable? Is there more that you can reasonably be doing? Or are you doing as much as you need to be doing, given all your other commitments and all the other things you're trying to balance in your life? For all the things you are already doing, thank the fear for bringing these things to your attention. Remind the fear of all the things you're already doing. Be reassuring, calm, compassionate. Do that now. For all the reasonable things your fear wants you to do to keep you safe that you are not doing, thank the fear for helping you and let the fear know what you will do and when you will do it. Again, be reassuring, calm, and compassionate. Do that now. And for the unreasonable things that your fear wants you to do, thank the fear for trying to help you. And calmly and gently explain why you will not be doing what they're wanting. And let them know what the good reason is for you choosing to not do that. Maybe you say something like, life is filled with uncertainty and risk. I accept that about life. I am choosing to live my life with a reasonable amount of uncertainty and risk. But I appreciate you doing your job and trying to keep me safe. Now that you've heard the fear, you know what it wants, and have reassured the fear that you are doing or will do every reasonable thing to keep yourself safe. Ask it to step back and let you do your job. Let it know that you appreciate it trying to help, but that it is currently getting in the way of keeping you safe. Tell it that you need to be able to think clearly so you can make good decisions, so you need it to stand down. Tell your fear that you need to be able to rest and to sleep deeply so that you can have the energy and focus needed to successfully deal with life's problems. Reassure it that it has done its job. It has alerted you to the danger. You have done your job. Thank you for keeping me safe. You have alerted me to the danger. Now please back off and let me do my job. In your own words, say something like this to your fear now. Can you ask the fear if it can shrink down to a more manageable size? Now that it's done its job, it can shrink down to something more manageable. It can turn off. It doesn't need to alert you anymore. It's been heard. It's done its job. It can get smaller. It can shrink. Now watch as it slowly gets smaller and smaller, like a deflating balloon, all the way down to something you can put in the palm of your hand, like a golf ball or a marble. Now with love and compassion, can you pick it up and put it back inside you, in the place where it came from, but this time surrounded by your love and compassion? Just do that now. Pick it up and put it back inside you, like putting a baby bird back in a warm, safe nest. This little baby bird of fear can rest assured that it did its job, all safe and warm. Maybe it can drift off to sleep until it's needed again. If ever it is needed, it can wake up and you will be there for it to listen to it and keep it safe. But for now, it can go back to sleep and let you do your job to protect it. To see that little baby bird of fear going back to sleep, all safe and warm. One last deep inhale and one last long exhale. I appreciate you doing that with me. I know that can be very different from something you're used to on a podcast, maybe. And how was that for you to do this work together? What did you learn? I hope you learned that fear is not the enemy. Fear is an important part of who you are. Fear can clue you into important information that you need to pay attention to. And fear can give you the edge you need to keep you safe. But unless there's an immediate physical threat, you don't want fear to be calling the shots. You want to get information from fear, but you want to call the shots. You make the decisions. Get the information, thank fear, then calm your nervous system so that you can make sound decisions and take any necessary action to keep you and what you love safe. This is the process to transform your anxiety into action. That action might simply be reassuring yourself, or you might need to join with others to work to restore the planet or bring about social justice. This process helps you align your actions with your values. Take a moment to check in with yourself, with your body. How are you feeling now compared to how you were feeling when we started? I imagine you're feeling more relaxed, a little less anxious, more calm with more clarity, also a little bit more energized, but a calm energy. I'm curious, what part of this exercise was difficult for you? What part didn't you like? If you're more avoidant, it might have been difficult for you to tune into your body and locate a feeling. I get that. I've been there. Or if you're more anxious, maybe it was harder for you to soothe yourself and feel reassured than let yourself feel better. Either way, that's okay. This was your first time. It can take a while to build up these skills. I hope you felt some positive effect, but the benefit will increase the more you practice. If you subscribe to the free Substack membership, join in this week's discussion and talk about what this was like for you. What did you like? What benefits did you get? What didn't you like? What could be different? Let's talk about why this process works. It's important to understand what's happening theoretically, and then you can implement this in different ways in your life. First, you're naming the feeling and locating it in your body. Just naming a feeling makes it smaller and more manageable. And feeling into your body gets you out of your mind and thinking all those anxious thoughts. Those anxious thoughts just make you feel more anxious. So this approach stops that cycle. Then when we take the fear outside of our body and talk to it with compassion, this shifts you out of your amygdala and into your prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain associated with integration and higher reasoning. You shift from I am afraid, where you are identified with the fear, to I feel afraid. The I is distinct from the fear. Separating out the fear helps us stabilize ourselves. Then we acknowledge and validate the feeling, which often lessens the intensity of that feeling. Next, we find out what we're needing, and we do some problem solving to figure out how to get what we need. Another way to look at this whole process is that it's just good parenting, where we are being a parent to ourselves, a good parent to ourselves. This process is what secure attachment looks like. The process builds safety and security, which leads to feelings of well-being. You will find that the more you do this, the more you compassionately talk to your fear, find out what it needs, and then reassure your fear and ask it to step back. And then you do what you need to do to feel better, the more effective it will be. As you use this process, you'll start to build confidence that you can take care of yourself in this way. In the first episode, we talked about your ember of resilience, that just by being here, your desire to be resilient, to feel better, to help build a better world, shows that you have that ember of resilience inside you. Well, this is so much more than that. This is you building your resilience. This is you listening to yourself, validating your feelings, finding out what you need, and taking action in the world to get yourself what you need. If that's not resilience, I don't know what is. Sure, if you have an immediate physical threat, your amygdala will kick in and give you the shot of adrenaline you need. But if you're not in any immediate danger, you can use this process to shift your brain from your amygdala to your prefrontal cortex. Trust yourself when you are processing from your prefrontal cortex. Trust your decisions. As you get this process down, you can begin to trust your future self, that you can make good decisions. You will know that you can take care of anything that comes your way. So you don't need to worry about future situations that don't exist, may never exist. And if they do, you know that your future self is perfectly capable to do what needs to be done. We talked about how fear is contagious, but calm is also contagious. Once you feel safe and secure again, relatively speaking, in an uncertain world, then you can help others feel safe as well. Think about the people in your life. Think of the people you come in contact with, those who are anxious, have an anxious attachment style, those who are more avoidant, both different forms of processing anxiety and fear. Think about what you can do to help them. Maybe you can be more of an emotional leader. Your calmness can be communicated to them. You can help them feel better. You can send out nonverbal safety signals. If you're breathing from your belly in a slow, steady manner, that helps people synchronize their breathing. So if they're breathing shallow or not breathing, and you're breathing in a very deep, relaxed manner, they might start picking up your breathing pattern. If you have a relaxed face with an open, welcoming posture, and you speak in a relaxed, confident, positive tone, that will help them feel safe and secure. Being in close proximity can also help calm their nervous system. And consensual touch with someone you're close to is very helpful. A hand on the shoulder, a touch on the arm, hand holding, long hugs. Those are all very soothing things to do with someone you're close to. All right, your action item for today. Do this exercise that we did today as a practice at least one more time this week. Just go through all the steps. You can cue this up yourself. It will be in the show notes, and do this along with me or do this on your own. Either way, just do it one more time. And then talk to your apocalypse buddy about how it went. And if you're on Substack, just share it with the group. If you struggle with this exercise today, one reason might be some confusion around needs. Some people feel like they need something that they don't really have control over. You may feel like you need there not to be global warming, or you need a certain injustice to end. I get it, but those aren't needs. These things can be desirable, but they're not really needs that we have. We need to sort out what we need to accept from what we can change. What do we have the power to change versus what do we need to accept? Therefore, next episode, we will look into that tricky practice of acceptance. How can we accept what is happening when it is so wrong? I hear you saying, I don't accept it. What is happening politically and ecologically is not okay. I know, I get it. But acceptance is key to resilience. We can't fight against reality. We will not win. But what do we mean by acceptance? If we practice acceptance, what is it that we're really accepting? That's next time on Resilience in Dark Times. That's all for this episode of Resilience in Dark Times. Your action items? First, try one strategy we discussed. Second, connect with one person about these issues. Breaking isolation is resistance. And third, leave us a review to help others find this community. For show notes and resources, visit resilienceindarktimes.com. I'm Michael Glavin, reminding you that your resilience is revolutionary. See you next episode.